not agree on everything, but most of us agree the move of the 9th grade to the high school campus is a positive step. How this is planned for and when it should occur is a matter of debate. Some of those questions were raised by both Dale and by Reese. First, let me make you aware that since June of 2013, with the resignation of Dr. Miller, former superintendent, resignation of J.P. Sawyer, school board attorney, and resignation of myself, former school board member, there was overwhelming concern in our community of overreach of power by certain school board members. Because of this concern in our community, there's been an implementation committee organized as the Citizens for a Better Enterprise, short is CBE, who have regularly met and planned as to how we effectively reshape the school board to mirror those who have served so well in the past and continue the great tradition of our school system, of which we are all so proud. Please be aware that school board members are appointed by our city council. The city council may be strongly influenced by the mayor, who may be strongly influenced by a handful of successful business people called movers and shakers, some of whom are friends of mine and perhaps yours as well. It seems that this small group of officials and movers and shakers concluded soon after a devastating tornado killed students and demolished our high school campus that the administration of our school system was incapable of sound long-range planning or financial responsibility. The result of their decision was a plan devised to, first, require the school system to repay to the City of Enterprise approximately $550,000 annually over 14 years, and second, to begin appointing school board members who believe they should be the decision makers on how to manage the school system rather than set policy and have a well-qualified superintendent manage the school system. I must point out that one of our council members was not a council member at the time that these decisions were made. That's red marks. Allow me to give you the mission statement, which will be adopted by the CBE. The mission statement of Citizens for a Better Enterprise is to enhance the quality of all aspects of life in Enterprise by educating and mobilizing the people of Enterprise and surrounding area to encourage more informed, involved, and effective public participation. Members of the CBE have already begun attending not only school board meetings but city council meetings in order to express interest from our community in what and how decisions are made and to be a part of that process in a respectful way. Due to a breach of trust between the school board and many in our community, Mr. Cotter was asked to resign as a school board member. He has refused to do so, and most of us feel the school board has done nothing to rebuild the trust which is so important to a successful public school system. The Implementation Committee has expressed concern directed to the mayor and city council members of school board appointments. We will soon determine if the city officials take those concerns seriously. One school board member reached out to Mark Gibson, former school board member and president, asking that a proposal be provided him over a compromise plan as to the repayment to begin in 2016 by the school system to the city. A draft of that plan was provided, but since so doing, we've had no response and have no knowledge the plan has been considered at all. Perhaps it has. More on that later, as while that issue is important, it is secondary to the intentional overreach of control exercised by some members of the school board. We all wish our new superintendent, Dr. Wright, great success. The announced decision by Dr. Wright of the 9th grade to Enterprise High School this fall, without school board approval and information sharing to our citizens previous to tonight, is, I think, unprecedented. As I stated earlier, many of us agree such a move will be beneficial, and on the surface, since this decision was made by Dr. Wright, it would appear the school board is not involved in that decision-making process until after the fact. If anyone here thinks this was not a school board decision, especially blessed by the president, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona I'd like to say. This all-important decision required many, many moving parts, a few of which were raised tonight. One of the most important is rezoning, with the chief responsibility for that being the transportation supervisor. Some of you may be unaware of that, and it was shown tonight under the personnel section of the agenda, that Mrs. Hilda Allen, who has served as transportation supervisor over the last couple of years, suddenly resigned last week, having been employed by the school system almost 26 years. She was an excellent director, supervisor, and the last rezoning plan, which was implemented in 2012, seems flawless due to her skills, her experience, and dedicated effort. Before asking others to share their knowledge on plans for our school system, just let me give one other example of board control. Before Dr. Wright began her role as superintendent on January 1st, she was asked, along with Jimmy Baker, to meet with the secretary to the superintendent. The secretary, a trustworthy and dedicated professional, was told, I'm paraphrasing, the board wants you out of this position. You will transfer to another location as secretary, as the board feels you are a stumbling block to the relationship between the school board and the city officials. A little bit shocking today. The secretary advised Dr. Wright and Jimmy Baker, I have other options. The secretary chose to resign. Many of us feel this treatment of this professional was wrong, but an odd thing was that at least a couple of occasions, Dr. Wright had been quoted as stating she did not intend to make any changes until she had the opportunity to observe and determine if changes were appropriate. Seems to many of us that the board used undue influence on Dr. Wright to set this action in motion even before officially taking that office, because I just don't believe Dr. Wright, newly hired on the job January 1st, made that decision without being directed by the board to do something. And I think it was unfair.
One reason I didn't get on the agenda tonight was that I felt like I might take more than 3 minutes. So if any of you need to leave before I finish, feel free to do so. But Reed and Dale, I thank y'all for sharing your questions and your comments. And Dr. Wright, I, first of all, do not want to be superintendent. I had my time as superintendent, and I wish you the best success in the world. And I honestly mean that, and I told you I would pray for you, and I do. There are 2 other people, besides me and you, there's one other person in here, Thad Morgan, who knows how tough it is to be a superintendent. And I had my 9.5 years, and I hope you will be successful and be here at least 9.5 years. And the second thing I want to say is, I know I'm getting older, but I'm not opposed to all change. I know the older I get, the more conservative I get, and sometimes I'm reluctant to change, but I'm not opposed to all change. And it has been said tonight, most of us are not opposed to the move for the 9th graders to go to the high school. It's just the timing that we are concerned about. And I'll give you an example. We spent over a year trying to prepare our teachers at the high school from going to a 6-period day to going to a block schedule, from teaching 55 or 60 minutes a day to going to teaching 90 to 92 minutes a day. We worked over a year and working the kinks out of that. Now here we're going to ask 9th grade teachers within a 5 or 6 month period to learn how to adjust to that schedule. That's one of the things I'm concerned about. I have no doubt in my mind that our people at the high school and at the junior highs will be able to do what they can to make this the best for students. And I agree with you, as you were quoted as saying in the paper, that you're doing what you think you're doing what's best for students. I think, however, that sometimes what's best for students may also be what's best for teachers. And I'm not sure what we're doing right now is best for teachers. I know that Mr. Rogers and Danny Long and those people at the high school are doing the very best they can to prepare their teachers for next year, and they'll be preparing the 9th grade teachers to accommodate the students for next year. But that is a difficult task. I mean, right now, March, April, and May are 3 of the busiest months of the year, and our teachers need to be concentrating on educating the students we have now rather than trying to prepare for next year's students. And I'm concerned about those students as well. My belief coincided with yours. I wanted to do what was best for students. But I honestly believe that we're getting the cart ahead of the horse. Even on the screen tonight, you know, the committees that are being formed, those should have been formed and be discussing things before this was adopted. I just don't see, with all due respect to you and what you did up in Madison County, Madison City, I just don't see how you can arrive and then with 5 or 6 weeks make that recommendation. I saw where the architectural firm, and by the way, I don't know if the board ever officially approved that firm doing the study or not. They might have, I just am not aware of it, but here an architectural firm came down and did a study of our school system, and I never heard one principal say that they were contacted. I would like to know if that happened. It seems to me like they came down and just made an arbitrary study on their own and said, here's what it is. It's just like I told Jimmy Baker about the 5-year capital plan. The people in our school system know more about the needs of our capital plans than anybody else. You can go to any principal in our school and they can tell you what our needs are. But here we're going outside and trying to find people and paying them an enormous sum of money to come down and tell us what we need to do. I'm very concerned. Again, my primary concern, or one of my primary concerns, is it fair to ask our teachers to do what y'all are asking them to do in 5 or 6 months? Here the Enterprise High School teachers, the ones of them who were here in 2007, think of, and you weren't here, Dr. Wright, I realize that, but think of what they did 2007 through 2010 out there at the college and the conditions that they worked under during those years. And now we're going to ask them to go back into these conditions where they're going to be floating. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, when the new high school was built, well, the school was supposed to accommodate between 1,800 and 2,000 students. Now we're going to have more than 2,200 students at Enterprise High School next year. That's going to be more than 500 more students over there than we have now. Now, sure, it may be advantageous. I'm aware of all the advantages that you had put on the screen. I wanted to say that I'm not naive and don't realize there are not disadvantages. However, I just believe that more time should be given to our people in order to implement this. And I know it may be too late. It may be too late because I see where meetings have already been scheduled for March the 4th. But I wish that somebody on our school board, whether it be Doug or somebody else, would take a good look at this and make a recommendation to the president. I'm aware of all the advantages, but the key question, in my opinion, is this. Do the advantages of moving this year, or the benefits, outweigh the disadvantages? And anybody who can answer that yes, I just would disagree with.
Only if we have a tornado.
Yeah. Well, and I've thought about that. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing I wanted to mention. You know, there are several other schools that don't have safe rooms. There are several others. So, you know, I'm concerned about those children as well, the elementary and junior high school students. But are we going to do all of that, make these changes, all of that? And if anybody knows about the safety and the welfare of students, it's me. I go to bed every night, every day I think about it. And I pray for those families who lost those 8 students. So I don't need to be lectured on about safe rooms.